This is the most important question I feel you can have with yourself or your property agent when it comes to making a property decision. And this question is, what are my alternatives? Most of the clients I meet on the ground or discussion I have with my friends, the way they think it's always linear. I have a set of problem now, and to solve it, I will have to sell my current place to buy another place. So they are trapped within this framework, which is a very linear perspective. Just to give you an example, recently I met a couple through my resale listing. So they came and view a very big unit of mine in Balestier, more than 2,000 square feet, and the asking price is around 3.5 million. So when I meet clients like this, I always like to engage in conversation and finding out why they are looking at my property or why they are looking at such property. So they tell me that they need to have a big space enough to accommodate 8 people. Why 8 people? Because they have their in-laws. Their in-laws have a helper, and they have 2 kids and they have a helper as well. So including them, they have a total of 8 packs living together. So they feel 2,000 would be just the right size for them. And they have another specific requirement is that the layout must be able to configure into two separate living space, so that they do not have an overlap of lifestyle with their in-laws as much. So at the same time, they want to stay together. They also want to have their own privacy. Then the next thing which I ask is, then what assets do they currently have? And they tell me that they currently have a 3-bedroom condo, which they bought before COVID, but they are not staying there because they are letting their parents stay there, and they themselves went to rent a condo in the Bukit Timah area. So just imagine, they are paying mortgage for the current property, and at the same time, they are paying rental for the Bukit Timah property as well. So the overhead expense is quite high for them. That's why they feel that, oh, the solution to this is, why not I sell off my current property and we go and find a 2,000 square feet unit that is big enough to accommodate all of us, which is not wrong. So this is their solution. Sell their current one and buy a future one where everyone can stay. But this is what I call, do they have alternative? Yes, they do have alternative. But what they have in alternative is alternative in product. What do I mean by that? This is very linear. Most of the people think in such a way. With a $3.5 million budget, what can I afford? So alternative in product, can I look at condo? Yes, they can. Can they look at cluster house? Yes, they can. Can they look at landed? Yes, they can as well. As long as there are units or layout that is within this budget, they are free to look at everything. But the thing with, if you are familiar with the market, for a 2,000 square feet condo, firstly, it's very hard to get something at 3.5 million. It's even harder to get something at 3.5 million for cluster or landed. Even if you do manage to get, the renovation cost will be very, very high. Maybe around $500,000 to $1 million. So when they set themselves in a linear way of thinking, they are also restricting the products which they can look at because of all this constraint in their requirement. Am I right to say so? After further discussion with them, right, I actually asked them, now you only have an alternative of product, but do you have an alternative in option? What do I mean by that? Selling and buying is an option. Continue renting is also another option because it's less costly. It's just the monthly expense which they continue to pay. What they lose out is just the opportunity cost to own a bigger condo. And lastly, why not restructure their current property portfolio? Okay, because from what I understand, when I found out about their why, they don't really need to stay together with their parents. They just want to stay close enough to their parents, but not live together. That's all I gather. Okay, so why not consider owning 2 property, but at a lower budget of 3.5 million? Why not consider restructuring? What do I mean by restructuring? For their case, right, the alternative option, since I have already planned out over here, the first one is to sell and buy. Okay, the pros is everybody get to stay together, but the cons is there's only limited option. The expense will be high in terms of renovation. The second alternative option is they do nothing. Status quo, less hassle, but it has the highest opportunity cost because the problem will not go away. They still need to continue renting and paying one mortgage and one rental. And the last one will be restructuring. Restructure in the form of decoupling and buying another property near their parents. The cons for this, right, is it's slightly more complicated. Timeline and funds planning must be on point. But by restructuring, right, they allow themselves to not look at properties that are 2,000 square feet because that requirement is gone already. They just need something at 1,200 to 1,500 square feet. If they want luxury, they can go 1,600, 1,700. But of course, depending on their budget. And they don't need to stretch their budget to 3.5 million because in the resale market, if they just want to look at a 3-bedroom resale, like 99 years, they can get properties for below $2 million near to their parents' place. And if they really want to stretch a bit more, they can look at 2.2 to $2.5 million. So they do not have that financial burden or stress on themselves anymore. So that's what I mean by always ask yourself, right? before you make a property decision, what are your other alternatives? Don't think in terms of a linear mindset, but in terms of considering the whole perspective. So most people that I meet, just remember, don't be restricted by alternative in product. Also look at what are the other options you can consider. If you do not know what options are best for you, always speak to your property agent, or if you don't have a property agent, you can always just DM me and we can run through what is available for you and the move you can make. And once you start to consider the alternative in options, right, you'll also start to realize that whatever option you make, there is pros and cons. There's nothing that is 100% pros, but it's just that what is the best option for you after you weigh up all the pros and cons for the property. I'll just end off with this mind map. Always be clear on the objective you want to achieve, and in terms of your strategy, it can be more than just selling and buying. It can be renting, it can be decoupling, it can be waiting on the market or other property moves you can make as well. So that's it for the video. To wrap up and summarize, always be considering your alternative before you make any decision.